यस्यान्तन्नादिमध्यं न हि करचरणं नाम गोत्रं न सूत्रं नो जातिर्नैव वर्णा न भवति पुरुषो नानपुंसं न च स्त्री नाकारं नो विकारं न हि जनिमरणं नास्ति पुण्यं न पापं तत्त्वं नो तत्त्वमेकं सहजसमरसं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि मौनव्याख्या प्रकटितपरब्रह्म तत्त्वं युवानं वरिशिष्ठान्ते वसदृशिगणैरावृतं ब्रह्मनिष्ठैः आचार्येन्द्रं करकलितचिन्मुद्रमानन्दमूर्तिं स्वात्मा रामं मुदितवदनं दक्षिणामूर्तिमीडे वेदान्तार्थविभासकाय शान्ताय सन्न्यासिने नानावादिनगेन्द्रसङ्घपवये योगीन्द्रवन्द्याय च मोहध्वान्तदिवाकराय भगवत्पादाभिधां बिभ्रते तस्मै भाष्यकृते नमोऽस्तु सततं पूर्णाय बोधात्मने अपार सच्चित्सुखपारिराशेः यस्योर्मिमात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि नारायणाय नलिनायतलोचनाय नामावशेषितमहाबलिवैभवाय नानाचराचरविधायकजन्मदेशनाभीपुटाय पुरुषाय नमः परस्मै राकाचन्द्रसमानकान्तिवदना नाकाधिराजस्तुता मोगानामपि कुर्वती सुरधुनीनीकाशवाग्वैभवम् श्रीकाञ्चीनगरी विहाररसिका शोकापहन्त्री सताम् एका पुण्यपरम्परा पशुपतेराकारिणी राजते योऽन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयत्यखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे सद्गुरुं चन्द्रशेखरं मातामहौ मातरं च पितरं च पितामहौ मातुलं च गुरून् सर्वान् वन्देऽहं ज्ञानसिद्धये पीताम्बरं करविराजितशङ्खचक्रकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायमतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशमनिशं हृदि भावयामि गोपिका जीवनस्मरणं गोविन्द गोविन्द हर नमः पार्वतीपतये हर हर महादेव जानकीकान्तस्मरणं जय जय राम राम। Bhakti is the mode to attain Bhagavan. The Bhagavata says Bhakti is more difficult than even Mukti. Bhagavan might even give Mukti, but getting that Para Bhakti is far more difficult. Bhakti can be of various kinds. In the Bhakti Sutra, Narada says, for the definition of Bhakti, he says, Satvasmin Parama Prema Rupa. That is Bhakti, which is Parama Prema Rupa, which is of the form of great love. That kind of Bhakti is visible very rarely. And the first example that he gives later in the sutras is that of gopis, the gopis of Vrindavan. The bhakti of gopis is very different from any other bhaktas that we see across the Bhagavata. There are two kinds of bhaktas that are told as udaharana, as an example for all other bhaktas. Always two examples are quoted. One is that of Prahlada, who is a Dasya Bhakti as well as Shanta Bhakti His bhakti is actually a mixture of all the bhaktis. Atmani Vedana. Where he is not perturbed by anything. His mind is completely immersed in Bhagavan. That comes very naturally to him. And his sadhana is bhakti, his sadhya is bhakti, everything is bhakti for him. The bhakti of gopis, on the other hand, is very different. There is an evolution in their bhakti if you see both Bhagavata and Narayanam. The beginning of their bhakti is mainly due to physical attraction towards Bhagavan Krishna. And that's how it is going to begin. Today we are going to see Dashakam 59 and 60. And then slowly it progresses. There is a separation, and then there is a rejoining, and again there is separation. Again there is the final Upadesha in the Samanta Panchaka when they meet later in life. We will see that evolution as we go through these Dashakas. But it is the beauty of the evolution of the bhakti of the gopis, where it is very different from that of Prahlada. They are completely physically attracted towards Krishna. That is how it begins. The sex passion that is there within men, within mortals, is one of the most difficult ones to bring under control. It is also one that causes a lot of difficulties in the material world, causes bondage, causes people to do all kinds of things. That is animal urge which plays with mortals. But the same urge, when turned towards Bhagavan, becomes a sadhana for mukti. So when it is said that anything that you do should be offered to Bhagavan, this is one of those examples. So we think that only good things can be offered to Bhagavan. Only what we think to be pure should be offered to Bhagavan. The Bhagavata shows us examples of all kinds. Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, and all those. They attained Bhagavan by Samrambha Yoga, by pure enmity towards Bhagavan. All they had was hatred of the highest kind. We probably cannot hate even some other person in this mortal world like that. That is the kind of hatred they had developed towards Bhagavan. In the same way, the sexual passion that is there, if that same thing can be turned towards Bhagavan, that leads one to mukti. That is the kind of evolution that we are going to see through these Dashakas. We will see a lot of philosophy behind that. And we will see how the Gopikas are of the highest order of the Parabhakti. We will begin with Dashakam 59. Twadvapurnavakalaya komalam premadohanam ashesha mohanam brahma tattva parachin mudatmakam vikshya sammumuhuran baham striyaha twadvapuhu. So there is this kalaya flower which is black, which is very dark bluish actually. Bhattakari says your akriti, your form is like of that of a newly bloomed kalaya flower. Prema dohanam ashesha mohanam. It just enchants everyone by the beauty. And the beauty of your body just enchants and attracts everyone. Brahma tattva parachin mudatmakam. But the same vapus of yours is consciousness in a solid form. Brahma tattva parachin mudatmakam. Seeing these, all the gopis were attracted. Striyaha vikshya sammumuhu. Sammuhu means they were captivated by that. Absolutely captivated by your form. Manmathonmathitamanasaah kramat Tvadvilokanaratastatastataha Gopikastavanase hire hare Kanano vagatimapyaharmukhe Manmathonmathitamanasaah kramat. So Cupid, Manmatha was playing with their hearts. So he just tore their hearts apart. Their minds were completely filled with that bhava. Every time they saw Krishna, they were captivated. They were captivated more and more. Each time they saw him, there was more attraction towards him. They always wanted to see him again and again. Kananopagatimapi harmukhe, even when he went to the Kanana, that is when he went into the forest to graze the cows, they were always awaiting for his return. They could not bear that separation of seeing him leave to the forest every day with the cows. And they were always waiting of when he would return at the evening, during the dusk. Nirgate bhavati datta drishtayah tvadgate na manasa mrigekshanaha venunada mupakarnya durataha tvadvilasa kathaya bhire nire. Nirgate bhavati. Once he went into the forest grazing the cows, they always kept on seeing the route where Krishna had walked there, hoping that he would probably turn back. But once he had gone beyond their sight, their sight was still fixed on the same route that Krishna had taken, Datta Drishtayah, because their mind had been taken away by Bhagavan. Tvadgatena vanasam mrigekshanaha. Their minds had already gone with Krishna into the forests. And when he went into the forest and he started playing his flute, Venunada mupakarnya durataha tvadvilasa kathaya bhire mire, they started remembering him of all the activities, all the pastimes that he had gone through before, whatever his leelas are there, from the childhood, from infancy to the demolition of other Rakshasas and others. That katha, they went on repeating that katha again and again. So they are always in the chinta of Bhagavan. This is what Bhagavan says in the Bhagavad Gita, Machitta Madgata Pranaha Bodhayantah Parasparam Kathayantascha Mam Nityam Tushyanticha Ramanticha. The devotees of Bhagavan, they always talk to each other. But when they talk, they do not talk about normal things like anybody else would talk. They do not talk about where you are working, what is your Kula Gotra, what is your experiences here, what is the difficulties you are facing. These are not what their topic of discussion is. The topic of discussion is always Bhagavan. They talk, oh, how beautiful his gait is. Oh, what great Leela he did. What are the other things that, how we are waiting for him? What is the feeling that they are feeling towards Bhagavan? How that separation bewitches them, and so on. That is how they go on repeating to each other. Machittaha, their mind is always fixed in Bhagavan. Madgata pranaha, their prana is associated with Bhagavan. If he goes away, it feels like the breath has been taken away. Bodhayantah parasparam, they keep talking to each other only about him, about his pastimes. Kathayantascha mam nityam, they talk about him, they talk probably about his friends, about how they interacted with him, their interaction. They remember him through various different things. They have created songs to sing about him. When they go, when they're doing their other work, they still sing about him. Tushyanticha ramanticha, and their happiness lies in doing this. Their happiness does not lie in doing something else. They never get bored of this. They never want some other form of entertainment. They never want to do something else. They always want to keep talking about Bhagavan. That is the lakshana of a devotee. Kanananta vitavan bhavanapi snigdhavada patale manorame vyatyaya kalitapadamastitaha pratyapurayata venu nadikam. Kanananta vitavan. He also went into the forest. Krishna, thus having he went into the forest. Then where was he? Snigdha padapatale manorame. There was a dense cover of trees over there. There in the beautiful shade of those trees, Krishna would stand cross-legged. As we would have seen in many different portrayals and paintings, you will see Krishna standing there cross-legged with a flute in his hand. Yatyaya kalitapadamastitaha Pratyapurayata Venu Nalikam. He filled the holes of the Venu, of the flute, with the wind, and then therefore beautiful melodious music emanated from that flute. Marabana Dhuta Khechari Kulam Nirvikara Pashupakshi Mandalam. The sound of this flute reached the heavens, and even the apsaras in the heavens, they were hit by the arrows of Cupid. Marabana Dhuta Khechari Kulam. Khecharis means the apsaras. They were all hit by Manmatha. Nirvikara Pashupakshi Mandalam. The Pashu and Pakshis here is the animals and birds surrounding Krishna. They stood there like stones listening to this music. That was the effect that this flute had upon them. Dravanancha drishadamapi prabho tavakam vyajani venu pujitam. Even the stones started melting. They say when there is this Chandrakanta, which when the rays of the moon fall upon that, then it melts. There are other stories also. There is a story between Agastya and Ravana where they had a competition between themselves as to who would play better music. And for that, they had judged as a mountain in front of them, said to be the Podigai mountain in Tamil Nadu. So whoever whenever the mountain melts, that is when the person has played excellent music. Like that, for Krishna's music here, the rocks around are melting. Dravanancha drishadamapi prabho. The rocks start melting, not because of heat. So you might be able to melt some rocks because of extreme heat. This because of the beauty, because of the melody of the music, that even rocks are melting. Melting means that is the bhava that is there even within the rocks. Tavakam yajani venu pujitam. Your flute created such a vibration all around it, brought in such positive energy all around it. Venurandhra taralanguli dalam tala sanchalita pada pallavam tatssthitam tava parokshamapyaho samvichintya mumuhur vrajanganah. So even though these vrajanganas, the gopis, were not in front of Krishna. Krishna is inside the forest, far inside the forest, but they are only listening to the music from Vrindavana. But they imagine him. As soon as they listen to this music, they start imagining his form. Oh, he's standing cross-legged under a tree, and he has the flute in his hands. And they imagine each of the fingertips moving across the holes in the flute. Of each of the stops, it's moving. Tala sanchalita pada pallavam venurandha taralangulidaram. So paroksha, even though they are paroksha, they start thinking of the form. So that is what is there in their minds, not whatever they're doing. Whatever else they're doing at home is continuing mechanically. But what is there in their mind is only Bhagavat Swarupa. Nirvishanka bhavadangadarishinihi khechari khagamrugan pashunapi tvatpada pranayika nananchataha dhanya dhanya miti nandamanayan. These gopikas, they respected those apsaras very much, because those apsaras do not have any blockage at all. For them, now that Krishna has gone far away, they are not able to see him directly. The trees or forest or the distance between themselves and Krishna is an obstruction for them to experience Bhagavan. But for the apsaras in the heavens, there is no obstruction at all. Wherever Krishna moves, from the skies, from the heavens, they are able to see him. So therefore, the gopikas are slightly jealous of the apsaras, but still they respect those apsaras. Nirvishanka bhavadangadarishinihi khecharihi. And even the birds and animals that are there, they can always follow Krishna everywhere. Wherever Krishna goes, they are able to follow. These gopikas are within some bondage. They cannot leave their homes, or they cannot leave other responsibilities, and therefore they are tied up. And therefore they say, all of you are you are all bhagyavantas, you are all fortunate to be able to follow Krishna like this. Tvatpada pranayikanananchataha dhanya dhanya miti nandamanayantam. You are all extremely fortunate. Dhanya. The word dhanya does not have an equivalent in English, but dhanya means fortunate, extremely fortunate. Oh, how fortunate you are. Dhanya dhanya. Dhanya dhanya miti nandamanayantam. Apiveya madhara mritam kada venu bhukta rasashesha me kada durato batakritam durashayeti akula muhurima samamuhan. Those lips which are touching the flute, and they have tasted the flute, Venu Bhukta Rasa Shesham, the flute has tasted those lips. Oh, when will we be able to taste those same lips? Is the feeling, the bhava within those gopis. Duratovata kritam durashayeti. But we think it is never attainable by us. We don't think that kind of an experience will never ever come to us. Akula muhurimas samamuhan. They felt very distressed that they might never have such an experience at all, overcome by love for Bhagavan. Pratyahancha punaritha manganaha chittayo nijanita danugrahat baddharaga vivashastvayi prabho nityava puriha kritya mudhatam. Pratyahancha punaritha manganaha. Every day it is the same thing again and again. Every day he goes to graze the cows. Every day they are distressed by those pangs of separation. Chitta yoni janitad anugrahat. That Chitta yoni means the god of love, Kamadeva, but he has an anugraha upon them. He has created this attraction towards Bhagavan. This attraction that might happen anywhere, probably to something which is material, some other person who is of mortal birth. Instead of that, they have this extreme attraction towards that Chaitanya, towards that consciousness which is just there. Baddha raga vivashaha. They are not within their own control. They are vivashaha. Their control is not within themselves. Their whole control is with Bhagavan. Nityama puriha kritya mudhatam. Therefore, they become completely indifferent to all the worldly actions. It is just happening. Involuntary, all the actions are happening, whatever they have to do. But everything, their whole mind is only with Bhagavan. Kritya mudhata means not knowing what to do. They want to do something, but they're not able to do that. That kind of kritya mudhata. So attachment to anything would always lead to downfall. Attachment, bondage to anything in this world. Any bondage is probably created with manmatha only. Not only a bondage between a man and his wife, lover and his lover, but if we have any bondage towards a material object also, that desire also is created by Kamadeva. Anywhere you have desire, when that object of desire is taken away, you have spans of separation. You are always in bondage because you either want it, once you get it, you are not satisfied. You want something more, and it keeps creating wants for more and more things. But in this case, that separation and that rejoining and separation at the end leads them to mukti. So Bhattatri beautifully says in this final verse of this Dashakam, he brings about a great tattva here. Ragastavad jayate hisvabhavat mokshopayo yatna tasyan navasyat. Ragastavat, ragaha means attachment. So everywhere, ragadvesho vyavasthito in Bhagavad Gita, if you see, everywhere Bhagavan says this raga is the cause for all problems in this world. Anywhere you have attachment, the cause for that, that leads only to bondage, that leads to problems, that leads to dukkha. Jayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu upajayate. Thinking of an object, it leads to attachment to that object. And from there is an anartha parampara. It's a vicious cycle. Goes one upon the other. Dukkha ushadam tadapi dukkham. You think there is some problem, you think there is some sadness, some sorrow, and for that you search for a medicine, and that also becomes a sorrow. That's how it goes on in the material world. So usually that is the case. Ragastavat jayatehi swabhavat. Naturally, for every person, there is some kind of attachment in this material world. It might be either to some people, it might be to wealth, it might be to some other kind of possession, it might be to persons around you, it might be in so many different kinds of ways. But here, mokshopayo yatnatasyan navasyat. Even for a mumukshu, a person who wants to attain moksha, he has a slight desire has come about, or it might be a strong desire. He starts doing some kind of sadhana, yatna, towards attaining moksha. He probably does some japa, some puja. He has a basic bhakti towards Bhagavan. He tries to be detached from this world. He knows attachment is wrong, and therefore he puts in his effort towards detachment. So that is what usually is done in the world by sadhakas. Mokshopayo yatra tasyat navasyat. It might become fruitful in some cases. In most cases, it does not become fruitful. Among 1,000 people, only Manushyanam Sahasreshu Kaschid Yatati Siddhaye Yatatamapi Siddhanam Kaschinmam Detti Tattvataha, says Bhagavan in Bhagavad Gita. Among thousands of people, some 1% tries to go on this moksha, path of moksha. Among those who try on this path of moksha, 1% might attain that. So there are so many people who are trying, who do tapas for that. After so many janmas, they might attain Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavanmam Prapadyate. After many janmas of doing this sadhana, he comes and attains me. But in the case of gopis, in this current case, what has happened? The attachment itself has become the yatna, the upaya for moksha. Tasam tvekam tadvayam labdhamasid bhagyam bhagyam vahimam marutesha. Tasam tvekam. For them, this ragaha itself became mokshopaya. Whatever is attachment, that itself becomes mokshopaya. So here is where a subtle point is made. This attachment, if you are able to create that attachment towards Bhagavan, then that becomes a mokshopaya. That is the same thing that has been told in the previous shloka that I quoted, Machittaha, Madgata Pranaha. If you keep on continuously reading something about Bhagavan, if you keep on being in satsanga, that attachment is naturally created. So this is an example of gopis that we have. For gopis, it was their fortune that Bhagavan was there right in front of them. But for us, we have the Bhagavad Katha with us. We have satsangas, we have Mahapurushas who are there around us. So we have to put in that small effort to go to the satsanga. There are people, for them, the Bhagavata Saptaha itself has become life. There is a Bhagavata Saptaha here, they go spend 7 days there. Next day, listen to some Bhagavata Saptaha, somewhere else they go there, sit there for 7 days. Morning there is Parayana, evening, afternoon, usually there is Prasada everywhere, it is given. And evening there is Upanyasa. So this is how there is a natural cycle. The mind will never go outside that. So what is the beauty of this Machittaha, Madgata Pranaha is that you are not allowing your mind to do any other activity. There is nothing else that is needed to do that. So you naturally, when you are always in that satsanga, this attachment is naturally generated. That swabhavaha, radastava jagatehi swabhavat. The attachment has to come. A man cannot stay without attachment. But that attachment, where should it be? The attachment, when you put it in Bhagavan, that is when it becomes mokshopayo yatna tasya navasyat. Absolute vairagya, it comes to very few people. Only after Bahunam Janmanamante that vairagya might come. Maybe like Jadabharata. But the main path of Narayaneeyam or of Bhagavata is to tell you that vairagya can be attained by this. And when you take up this bhakti marga, Bhagavan says, I will come and protect you. I will come and Tesham aham samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami nachirat partha maya aveshita chetasam. Maya aveshita chetasam. Your chetas, your manas should be completely immersed in Bhagavan. There should be nothing else there. There should be no space for anything else. So Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he used to say, whenever you do something in the world, you always hold one hand in Bhagavan's feet and do something else with the other hand. And whenever you get a break, you take both hands and hold Bhagavan's feet. So that is how you have to begin. Whatever it is. So whenever you get a break, you chant some stotras that you know. Whenever you are doing something that is very involuntary, maybe you are riding, you are driving your car, you're doing your household chores. And normally you can continuously recite something that you know. It might be any song in the language that you know. Surely you have learned so many things in childhood. Or if you have not, then this is an opportunity to learn some stotras, learn some things in our mother tongue. So we learn the Gopika Geetam and sing it. And when you learn the meaning, that bhava comes naturally. You learn the meaning, and every now and then you start thinking of the meaning, that bhava will naturally come. So that is what Bhattatri is trying to push us towards here. Tasam tvekam tadvayam labdhamasid bhagyam bhagyam. What is their great fortune? How fortunate they are. Pahimam marutesha. So at the end of this Dashakam, he does not say, eradicate all my ailments. That is missing here. because he has gone into those bhava of the gopis. He's just saying they are so fortunate. So you please protect me and put me in their state. How much ever bhakti they had, hopefully I also get that kind of a bhakti. The next Dashaka, Madana Turacheta Sonvam Bhavadang Hridvaya Dasya Kamyaya Yamuna Tatasim Nisaikatim Taralakshyo Girijam Samarchichan. The gopis begin a vrata towards Katyayini Devi. So this Navaratri, we have all the Devi Swarupas, we do the Aradhara. Similarly, the Gopikas, they started praying towards Katyayini. It's called the Katyayini Vrata. They are all extremely attracted because of Madana, because of Kamadeva. Bhavadangridvaya dasya kamyaya. They wanted to be dasas at your feet. Yamuna tatasimni saikati. They went to the banks of Yamuna and they started worshipping Girija. They started worshipping Ambal. Parvati. Girija is Parvati. That is Katyayini. The form of Katyayini is what they started worshipping. Tavanama katharata samam sudrishah pradarupagata nadim upahara shataira pujaginnem dagito nandasuto bhavediti tavanama katharataha. Always taking your name. Krishna, Govinda, Gopala, this is how they went chanting, making a bhajana within themselves. And early in the morning, they used to go to Yamuna to have bath there. That is how vrata is. Early in the morning, you go have bath and then you continue your puja. That is how vrata is done. So, listening to these stories only, we see Andal later. Andal, she has composed the whole Tiruppavi based on these vratas of gopis, where they had the Katyayini vrata and they wanted to attain Krishna as their husband. Following their footsteps, Andal composed Tiruppavi in Tamil. And she also has the very similar bhava of these gopis. Almost the same kind. Get up early in the morning, go have bath and do the puja of Bhagavan. Upahara shataira pujayan. With hundreds of offerings, they started doing puja to Bhagavan. Why did they do? All their chanting is Gopala, Govinda. But they're doing the puja to Katyayini. And in that vrata, they say, may Krishna become our husband. Dayito nandasuto bhavediti. So they want that union with Bhagavan. Itima samupahita vrataha taralakshir abhiviksheta bhavan. So for one whole month, they had this kind of vrata that they did. They have some ahara niyamas, some other niyamas, and this consistently, in a disciplined way, they are following this. Taralakshihi abhiviksheta bhavan. Taralakshi means those whose eyes are very beautiful. Their eyes keep moving like that. Karana karuna mrudulo nadi tatam samayasi tadanugrahechaya. Krishna knows this. So he went to the banks of Yamuna once when they were bathing in the morning. He went to the banks of Yamuna and he wanted to bless them because they are doing this vrata. Niyama vasito nijambaram tatasi manyavamucyatastada Yamuna jalakhelana kulaha puratastva mavalokya lajjitaha. At the end of those niyamas, the discipline, the vows they're having, so they went into the Yamuna. They sit on the bank of Yamuna, they do their bhajana, their japa, and then they went into the Yamuna. They left all their clothes on the banks of Yamuna. Avamuchyataha tada nijambaram Yamuna jala khelana kulaha. They wanted to go into Yamuna and they want to play with each other. They wanted to have a nice jolly time. Puratastva babalokya lajjitaha. Once they entered Yamuna, only then they spotted Krishna. No problem. Once they entered, then they spotted this fellow sitting on the tree. Trapaya namita nanasvatha vanita swambarajala mantike nihitam parigrihya bhuraho pitapam tvam tarasadhirudhavan. So they became extremely shy seeing this fellow on the tree, seeing Krishna. They're all praying for him to become their husband. But as soon as he came in front of them, they were overcome with shyness and they bent their heads. Namita nanaha. Ambarajala mantike. So Krishna saw that all these clothes were lying on the bank and immediately he picked all of them and he climbed up on the tree again. Quickly he climbed upon. Tarasa dhiruthavan. Ihatavadupetya nijatam. Vasanam vas sudrusho yatha yatham. Iti narma mridusmite tvagi. Bruvatibhya mumuhe vadhujanihi. He started teasing them. Like any other Eve teaser would do. That is how he begins. But we will see later. Ihata vadupetya nijatam. Come here and take your, he says, whatever clothes you have, come out of the Yamuna and then take your clothes. Sudrusho yatha yatham. I don't know whose clothes, which is whose clothes. So you come here, you choose your clothes and take it as you want. Iti narma mridusmite tvayi. So playfully he started teasing them like this. Vyamumuhe vadhujanihi. They had no idea what to do. So they are in a fix. They don't know how to come out and they don't know what to do now. Ajiva chiran kishoranaham tavadasi ravashi karoshikim pradishambaramam bujekshana ityuditastam smitameva dattavan. They try to butter him up. They try to placate him with nice words. Ajiva, oh little boy, chiram kishoranaham. Aren't you a small little boy who used to play with us? So like this, they started cuddling with him. They started with their words. They're trying to butter him and bring him down and somehow make him give their clothes back. Tavadasi avashi karoshikim. Why are you making your dasi do things like this? You should not do like that. You should not do that. Give it to me, give it to me. That's how they started praying to him. Pradishambaram ambujekshana. Oh, one with a lotus eyes. You are looking so beautiful. Please give us our clothes. Nothing. Krishna was doing nothing. He just smiled at them. He did not even give a reply. He just smiled at them. Adhirukya tatam kritanjalihi parishuddha swagatir nirikshiyataha vasananyakhilanyanugraham punarevam giramapyada muda. Knowing they had no other go for a long time. They went on trying to make him give their clothes, but there was no other way. So then they all got out of Yamuna. They came there with their hands folded and each one took their clothes and went back. Kritanjalihi parishuddhaha. They became completely purified of having. So one of these, Krishna wanted to also make them know that one should not bathe in a public pond or in a river or any water body like that without having any clothes upon oneself. One should always wear clothes while bathing in rivers or lakes or ponds or anything of that sort. Vedas itself says, Napsumutta purisham kuryat na nishtivet na vyomasanskrit-pathasala. So in the water body like this, vyomasanaha nasnayat. You should not have bath without having clothes on. Whether it is a man or a woman, you should always have. So that is why it's called as sachela snana. You should have your clothes upon and they should also get wet. And then you come out and wring those clothes and take the water out. That is how the Shastra tells us to do. So to show this rule also to those gopikas, he made them come out like that. Swagatihi nirikshiyataha vasananyakilanyanugraham. All the vasanani, that is all the clothes he gave them. And also he gave them immense amount of blessings, anugraha. And he told them thus, punarevam giramapi adamudam. Viditam nanuvo manishitam vadita rastviha yogyamuttaram yamuna puline sachandrikaha kshanada ityabalastvamuchivane viditam nanuvo manishitam. I understand whatever is there in your hearts, whatever you desire, that is known to me, Krishna said to them. So whenever required, I will give you the right reply. Whatever is required, I will give it to you. I will give you the proper answer whenever the time is correct. So on the Yamuna Pudine Sachandrikaha. So when the Yamuna banks are lit with the moon, during the Paurnami, in the upcoming months, in the Paurnami, Kshanada Ityabalastvamuchivane. Kshanada means the night. So in the night when the Paurnami is there, when the banks of Yamuna is lit with this moon, that time you will get the right answer to all your prarthana, to all your desires. You will get the answers. Upakarnya bhavan mukhachutam madhurishyan divacho mrigi drishaha Pranayadagi vikshya vikshyate vadanabjam shanakair griham gataha. Mrigidrishaha is a term used for the gopikas, those who are doe-eyed. Doe means a deer's young child is called a doe. So the eyes of these gopikas resemble that of a fawn. Mrigidrishaha. Listening to the words from the mouth of Bhagavan, all of them, it felt like nectar was dripping from his mouth. That is how happy they felt. That is how joyous they felt. Pranayadagi, because overcome by love, they kept on looking at him again and again. They did not want to go back. So they went a little few steps, they looked back at him, they went again, they looked back at him, and somehow they all reached their homes. Shanakaihi griham gataha. Slowly they went home. Itinan vanugrihya vallavihi vipinanteshu pureva sancharanne karuna shishiro hare hara tvarayame sakalamaya balim. Like this did you bless all of them. Anugrihya vallavihi, all the gopikas. Vipinanteshu pureva sancharanne. And that day again you went back into the forest playfully, just like you would do every day. Karuna shishiro hare hara. Hey Karuna shishiraha means one who cools everyone with compassion. Amount of compassion, it just cools everyone like the Purnami Chandra. Hare harat tvaraya. Oh Hari, take away, eradicate all my ailments, all my sakalamaya vadim. Quickly you eradicate all my ailments. And that is how Bhattatri finishes the Dashakam. With this Dashaka, we see that Gopikas, they left all their clothes and they went into the Nadi to bathe naked. And now we will see, there might be a doubt within us, how can Krishna do this? How can he do such kind of eve teasing? That is like a normal person, a very lowly man would do. That is how he teases them. And he makes them come out of there and then take their clothes. This does not sit well with our normal moral mind that we have. But we should see this from the status of jnanis and from the anugraha that Bhagavan is going to grant to them. The philosophical understanding behind this is that when you go to Bhagavan, you should have to take out all the bondage. So the clothes here show the attachment, show the different kinds of identities that we bring upon ourselves when we go towards Bhagavan. We still have, even when we approach Bhagavan, we have identities of lower, higher, of me being better than someone, and all these kinds of identities that we have to cast away all these identities. We see when somebody takes sannyasa ashrama, this is what happens. They leave all their clothes in the water body and they come out of there without any clothes, and they take the new clothes from the guru that is giving them. So similarly, this is Bhagavan's way of showing them that you are traveling toward that Satchit Sukha. It is the Anugraha, it is the Guru Padesha that he is giving them. When you go to Bhagavan, you cannot have any shame, you cannot have any moral compass. Nothing can work in front of Bhagavan. In Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's story, when he used to do sadhana of Kali, he used to do it in a very secluded place. The Upachara in Dakshineshwara Kali, when he used to do as a priest, that is different. When he used to do his personal sadhana, he used to cast away everything, including his clothes and including his yajnopavita. He used to keep it aside and do this aradhana of Kali. Again, that might not sit well with everyone, because that is a Paramahamsa dharma. When you have only Bhagavan with you, that is when you can do that. That becomes from the inside itself. Bhagavan's Ajna will be there to do that. When you have completely surrendered to Bhagavan, all these external things that we have kept upon ourselves, the identities that we create, they become a bondage. You cannot say that the achara that we have, from him comes for all achara. Achara prabhavo dharmaha dharmasya prabhur achyutaha. When you go to Bhagavan, he is the writer of all the rules. So when you go to the person who is making all the rules, all these rules no more apply to that person. All the rules of morality, all the rules of conduct, that can no more apply to a person who is completely surrendered to Bhagavan. That complete surrender is what Bhagavan is teaching to the gopis. That Paramahamsa dharma is what Bhagavan is teaching them. So when Bhagavad Anugraha is there, that Paramahamsa dharma will naturally happen. I mean, Bhagavat Anugraha is there for the gopis directly here. Bhagavan Krishna is directly giving them that Upadesha. It is only according to Adhikaris. The same Bhagavan would say to Arjuna, you cannot give up fighting. You have to go fight. For Arjuna, that is his kartavya. He cannot give up fighting. When he says, I will take a begging bowl and I will go, I will cast away everything, that cannot be him. Because his adhikari, he is not yet an adhikari to go for that dharma. Whereas, these gopikas are already so high in their spiritual progress. For them, this complete surrender is what is necessary. And for that, they have to know that they have to give up everything. All patisutanvayam pradrubandhavanu ativilanchate antyachyutagataha. They have overcome their attachment to their husbands, their young children, their families. They are not able to hold there. When a fruit is ripe, it can no more, you cannot put a Fevicol and stick it to its tree. It will automatically fall down. You cannot stop it from going towards the flow. If the flow is in that way, that is how it will happen. You cannot stop it. You cannot go against the flow of that natural bhakti, and you cannot do that. So in the case of gopis, they are at that Paramahamsa Dharma, just like we see in the case of Ramana Maharshi also. Nobody had to tell him that you have to take up sannyasa, you have to go sit there. That is not, it did not happen because he took a decision. Bhagavan Arunachala there, he naturally conducted that rites of sannyasa for Ramana Maharshi. He just came that he threw away all his clothes. He threw away his Yajnopavita and he went and almost merged into Bhagavan right there in the Sannidhi. A similar experience is happening here to the gopis. Just like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and Ramana Maharshi, we have seen in the sense they are so close to us. One is just half a century away, other is just a century and a half away. We see these Mahatmas in front of us. Similarly, when the inner Bhagavan is leading them, here Bhagavan, that consciousness is right there, that Satchidananda Swarupa is in front of them, is in flesh and blood in front of them. And gopikas are taken towards that. And they have to, it is to show them that all the dharmas that are there for others do not apply to them. The dharma which is created for all other mortals, they are going beyond dharma. That is what is Paramahamsa Dharma. When you take sannyasa ashrama, it is called Turiya Ashrama, which is called the fourth ashrama, but it is also called as Atyashrama. It is beyond all ashramas. It is beyond all dharmas. You do not go into sannyasa for the sake of performing some rituals. It is for the sake of only Bhagavan and nothing else. It is only for that Atma Swarupa, they go there. And when you are in that union with Bhagavan, no other dharma can bind you in any kind of manner. To show that dharma and to show many more things, as we will see later, Bhagavan makes this Leela of Gopika Vastrapahana in Dashakam 60, and we will see more of this gopi and how much that union with the Lord, because the whole of Bhagavata gives a lot of importance to gopis. We will see it more in the forthcoming lectures with others from Narada Bhakti Sutra, also with other examples. We will see more because 65 to 69 is the Rasa Panchakam. Similarly, just as the Rasa Panchakam is there in Bhagavata, here also Bhattatri devotes 5 complete Dashakams to gopis and that Rasa Panchakam. He usually compresses everywhere else, but here he completely devotes 5 Dashakams to gopis, and these 2 Dashakams also, as we have seen. Now we will move on to Dashakam 61. Tatascha vrindavanato didurataha vanangatastvam khalu gopya gopagokulaihi vidantare bhaktataradvijangana kadambaka anugrahanagraham vahan. This is now like a comparative study between gopikas who are almost Paramahamsas and other strees who are bound by their dharmas, bound by the framework, and they cannot be, the anugraha to them, the blessing to them cannot be done in the similar way as done to the gopis. Now we see the Yajnapatni anugraha in Dashakam 61. Vrindavanato atidurataha. Little away from Vrindavana, that is the Yajnapatnis, who are also extremely devoted to Krishna, but all their husbands, they are in the performance of Vedic rituals. Vanangatastvam khalu gopa gokulaihi. As usual, Krishna went one day into the forest with all the cowherds. He knew within himself that these people are doing bhakti to me, but they are a little far away from Vrindavana, so they cannot meet Krishna every day. They have never met Krishna at all. They have only heard of his pastimes. Kadambakaru Grahanam Grahanagraham Vahan. So, knowing these very devout Brahmana women who are there, wanting to bless them, the desire to bless them arose within Bhagavan, and therefore that day he decided, he kept in his mind, Hridantare Vahan, Tato Nirikshya Sharane Vanantare, Ishora Lokam Kshudhitam Trishakulam. That particular day, they felt extremely hungry. Probably whatever food they had taken with them was over. Krishna planned in such a way that they would take less food, or they didn't bring food at all. So Kshudhitam, they're extremely hungry and they're extremely thirsty also. Trishakulam. Adurato Yajnaparan Tvijan Prati. Some distance away, he knows yajna is being conducted. The Brahmanas, they're conducting some yajna. Vyasarjayo Didivya Chanayatan. He sent all these young cowherds to those Brahmanas. So if yajna is going on, surely there is some rice, habis has been created for the yajna. So please go and ask them for some cooked rice. But Krishna is asking, and we are all very hungry. Please give us some rice for us to eat. He sent all these Gopalas there. Gateshwadho teshvavidhaya tebhidham kumarakeshvodanaya chishu prabho gateshwadho. Once they went, all these cowherds went there. They went there and they introduced themselves. We are so and so, we have come from Vrindavana, we are mates of Krishna, we are all friends of Krishna. Odanaya chishu prabho. Odana also means cooked rice. They all went and asked, please give us some amount of rice. We are all very hungry. We want to just satisfy our hunger. Shruti sthira apyadhinyura shrutin nakinchi uchushchamahi surottamaham. Even though they were extremely well versed in the Vedas, shruti sthiraha, extremely stable in the Vedas. They know all the Vedas. They are all doing great yajnas over there. Abhininyuhu ashruti. But they seem as if they had not heard what these fellows told. They acted, even though they came and begged for rice, they acted like they did not listen to these fellows, and they kept mauna. So these Brahmanas were completely given to the Karma Kanda part of the Vedas, and they never had any belief in devotion to Bhagavan. They did not think of Bhagavan at all. So these are the kind of Brahmanas and Vedic ritualists that Bhagavan refers to in the Gita again, 2nd chapter. He says, Trigunaha. He says they are only in these 3 gunas. And whatever is the Vedas, it says they go up and down, they do yajnas for the sake of heaven, for the sake of Swarga, and they come back again and they have no other way. So that is how they continue. Anadharat chinnadhiyo hi balakaha samayayor yuktamidam hi yajvasu chirada bhakta khalute mahisuraha katham hi bhaktam tvaitais samarpyate anadharat. All these, because they did not respect them, they did not even care to listen to these young boys. Those cowherds came back to Krishna and they said, this is how they are. Then Krishna said, that is how they will be. I know that is how they will be, because these Vedic ritualists, they are Purva Mimamsakas. In Purva Mimamsa, the importance for Phaladata or Bhagavan itself is very less. They say that Bhagavan is not necessary at all. We do karma, we get phala of karma. What is the necessity of Bhagavan in between? That is the philosophy of Purva Mimamsakas. They have very less importance for personal God, and they have no importance for bhakti at all. So therefore it is yuktam for them. For them it is correct. Chirad abhaktaha, they have no devotion at all. They have no devotion to Bhagavan. Khalute mahisuraha, those Brahmanas have no devotion. Katham hi bhaktam tvaitais samarpyate. When they have no bhakti at all, bhaktam means annam again. When they have no bhakti, how will they give you bhakta? They cannot give you. Therefore you go again. Nivedayadhvam grihini janayamam disheyurannam karuna kulagimaham. So in somewhere else in Bhagavata also, it comes Viprad Dvishadgura Yudat Aravindanabha Padaravinda Vimukhat Shvapacham Varishtham. There might be a Brahmana who has 12 gunas, Dvishadguna Yudat. who is endowed with all the gunas, but if he has no devotion to Bhagavan, Aravindanatha Padaravinda Vimukhat, if he has no devotion to those lotus feet of Bhagavan, then a Chandala is greater than him. Who has devotion, he is Chandadostu Sadu Bijostu Gururityesha Manisha Mama. One who has bhakti is to be treated as a guru. So therefore, you go to the Yajna Patris, don't go to those Brahmanas who are performing the sacrifice. Go to their wives. Grihini Janagamam Dishe Yurannam Karuna Kulagimaha. They will surely give you the rice that you want. Itis Mitardram Bhavate Rida Gataha Tedaraka Darajananyaya Chire. Having been ordered like this by Krishna again, all these cowherds again went and they went to the wives of those Brahmanas and they requested them for some food. Grihitanam nitvayi sambhrama kulaha chaturvidham bhojjarasam pragrihyatāha. As soon as they listened to the name of Krishna, Krishna is requesting for food. It became sambhrama. They were waiting for this for so long. So in great excitement and enthusiasm, they 4 kinds of food they bought. So the 4 kinds of food are that which can be chewed upon, that which can be masticated, that which is to be swallowed, that which can be licked or sucked. So telling it in English is very weird, but that which you can drink and that which you can bite. So these there are 4 kinds of food, which is also there in Bhagavad Gita. And he says Chaturvidham, which is there. So those are 4 kinds of food they prepare, and with so much devotion and excitement that Krishna himself is asking for food. All of them went to see Krishna. Chirandhrita tvat pravilokanagraha. For a long time they wanted to see Bhagavan. Now that opportunity has presented itself, and Bhagavan himself is inviting them. Swakayar nirutha apitur namayayoho. Even though they were stopped by their husbands and other few people, they might have been, they did not like these people going. They just went. When the call comes, you just go. You cannot be blocked. When the call comes from Bhagavan, you just are pulled towards that. Vilola pincham chikure kapolayoho samullasan kundalamardramikshyate nidhaya bahum suhridam sasimani stitam bhavantam samalokayantataha. When they reach there, they have a beautiful picturesque form of Bhagavan in front of them. Vilola pincham, that quivering peacock's feather on his head. Chikure kapolayoho. Everywhere on his hair is that peacock's feather. Kapolayoho samullasat kundalamardramikshyate. On his cheeks are that shining of the kundala of his earrings. It is from his cheek also it is shining, all those with the shining earrings. And his glance, nidhaya bahum suhridam sasimani. He has put his hand upon his friend's shoulder and he is standing like that. The beautiful picturesque in front of them. Stitam bhavantam samalokayantataha. And they all looked upon Krishna. They were just bewitched by seeing that form. Tadacha kachitvadupagamodhyata grihita hastadagite na yajvana tadaiva sanchintya bhavantamanjasa vivesha kaivalya maho kritinyasahu. One of those wives of that Vedic Brahmana who wanted to come, but she was not allowed at all. Her husband held her hand and did not allow her to go. So the Upagama Udyata, she wanted to come and meet you like all the other ladies, like all the other women, but she was not allowed. Grihita hasta, her husband held her hand and did not allow her to go. Tadaiva sanchintya. At that moment, thinking of Bhagavan himself, she left her body and she reached Kaivalya. Kaivalya maho kritinya. So at that moment itself, she attained Videha Mukti. Oh, how much punya she should have done. What a wonder. How fortunate she was, says Bhattatri. Adaya bhojyan yanugrihya punaha twadanga sangasprihayojjhatir griham vilokya yajnaya visarjayannimaha chakartha bhartruna vitasvagarhananam. Adaya bhojyan, he accepted all those things that the Yajna Patnis had bought for him. Twadanga sangasprihayojjhatir griham. So they had all abandoned their houses and they had come to meet Krishna. Virokya yajnaya visarjayannimaha. But they all had to, Krishna knew that they all had to return back for that yajna which had to be completed. Chakartha bhartruna pita swagarhanan. So when they went back, he made all their husbands free from any anger that they would have towards them, that they went in between the yajna and they were not there around. So he changed their minds in such a way, changed the minds of those husbands in such a way that they would not have any ill will or anger toward these wives who had come for seeing Bhagavan. So this is to show that when Bhagavan's call is there, even if you go beyond your dharma, Bhagavan will keep everything in the right place. So later we will see when Gopikas come away from their houses in the house, they thought that gopis were still with them. Krishna had taken that form and he was there in the form of gopis. So that dharma, the Laukika dharma, is also not abandoned. At the same time, they have the experience of Bhagavan. This is just like when Nachiketa goes to meet Yama, he says, when I go back, my father should not be angry at me. He says, my father should not be angry with me that I came to you. And Yama says, that's how he will be. Nirupya dosham nijamanganajane vilokya bhaktincha punar vicharibhihi prabuddha tattvayisto abhishtudodvijaihi marutpuradhisha nirundhime gadane nirupya dosham nijamanganajane. So seeing this extreme bhakti in their own wives, that is when they saw their own faults, the husbands, those ritualists, those Vedic ritualists, they realized their own fault, they realized the dosha within themselves. They said, we should also cultivate this bhakti towards Bhagavan. So it is always the strees at home, the women at home, the women folk, who even if the men do not have bhakti, even if they do not have devotion, if they do not have shraddha, the women will be able to cultivate that shraddha in them by their own achara, by their guna. It is possible for women to cultivate that in children and in everyone present at the house. It is possible to cultivate that. Prabuddha tastvaisto abhishtudodvijaihi. And now they realize their folly and they all also praised Bhagavan. But they still had that little bad, they did not have the complete abandon to go there and fall at the feet of Bhagavan. They felt, now if we go and see Bhagavan, Kamsa might do something to us. If we go and pray to Krishna, if we go see him directly, then Kamsa might do something to us, or he might put some hurdles when we are doing yajnas. So that is why they did not have that freedom. The freedom that the wives had, the yajnapatnis had, they did not have that kind of freedom. They did not have that freedom of mind, that a complete devotion, that surrender still did not happen. But nevertheless, they realized that he is Bhagavan, and a slight amount of devotion also emanated within them. Marutpuradhisha nirundhime gadhan. O Guru Vairappa, may you eradicate all my ailments, and may you also give me bhakti like the Gopikas and like the Yajnapatnis. Is our prayer today, and we will go on in the next discourse to see the Govardhana episode and towards the Rasa Panchakam. Gopika Jeevana Smaranam Govinda Govinda Janaki Kanta Smaranam Jaya Jaya Rama Rama Hara Namah Parvati Pataye Hara Hara Mahadeva Sadguru Swaminaha Jai. Vyoma-samskrta-pathasala bhavasittumeva tato nabachim mama kinchibasti yatha taveshtam kuruman tathaiva tvam atmanatham ramanam bhajami. Ram Ram.